about you, but when I visit a location just for a couple of days, I tend to rush around like a headless chicken, just trying to fit everything in. And if I don't really know a location that well, it can be a bit of a disaster. And add to this a medical emergency.
I have pulled a muscle in my back by tying up my bootlace.
What a plank.
Diff.
Yup. So strangely, the start of my trip and the end of my trip, well, they went really well. But the bits in the middle, well, they were just a bit... Greater photographic success correlated strongly with my knowledge of a location. Conversely, when I was a newbie, well, sometimes, quite frankly, I struggled. This new location, I totally messed up by getting the tides too low and positioning myself where the rocks were far too dominant. Lesson learned. So for this video, I'm going to concentrate on two locations. Both were very windy, and one was new to me. This one, Bedruthan Steps. I'd seen photos taken from both the beach and the top of the cliff, but access to the beach now seems to be permanently closed because of rockfalls.
Well, welcome to Bedruthan Steps. My husband has just asked me, how is this fun? I must admit, I'm concurring with him at the moment. It's just very blowy, visibility's not amazing, and it's winter.
Good Lord, woman, have some positivity.
Moany old boot.
After about 15 minutes walk, you start seeing the classic viewpoint open up. And what greeted me was just a powerful scene of wind and waves and white. So much white.
Those waves are tremendous. I'm not in the right place. They've closed off where I want to be, but they're tremendous. Rude not to at least give it a go. Loving every minute of this, aren't you, darling? 1 second captures the and the...
Translation, power.
God, it's quite a ferocious day.
Somewhat of an understatement. My job here was to try and translate this mess into something, anything.
What I'm trying to do is wait for a lull, because otherwise it's just white, confused water. If there's a lull, I get some of the lovely turquoise colour coming through, and then I get the waves in the background. So it's about timing more than anything else. Other than that, it's just craziness in the water, which is why 1 second just makes it a little bit more defined. You can see the movement and the route of the water.
At this location, such powerful wind, well, it wasn't terribly helpful. This was the best of all the confused foregrounds that I got. So I spent a merry hour trying to make sense of this scene. Yes, I did hop over the barrier. Shh. But actually that higher elevation made things a little bit more simple as the tide gradually retreated.
The waves are breaking further out now, so it's not quite as good, but what I am able to get is a slightly less confused foreground. So swings and roundabouts. See how this one goes. And the sun's just breaking through up there. It's not quite as cold. I am trying to marry two worlds here. I'm trying to get that lovely drag out for the foreground and the midground, but also trying to maintain some of the texture and the clarity in the waves so I don't sort of flatten it or make it just look like it has no power, because there's a lot of that here today. So anywhere between 0.5 of a second and 1 second is working quite well, and I might marry the two in post. Probably won't, but see how things go. The addictive bit though is trying to get that foreground right. Lovely.
On a different day, particularly one where the sea pinks are out, well, I think there's a lot more to explore, so I shall return. Meanwhile, on to my next location. One that I've visited before, so surely that's got to make it easier, even in this wind.
This is probably going to be my last location in Cornwall, because if it's windy today, it's going to be monstrous tomorrow. So we are at Holywell Bay, and these, I believe, are Gull Rocks. Now, Holywell Bay has a very big expanse of sand, but it also has some dunes in the background with marron grasses on, which should look nice. Now, it is, in theory, about 50–60% chance of high cloud tonight, and this is a sunset location. So I'm going to return. This is a scout. As you can see, it's a low tide, and I'm walking actually across the bottom of the river as it goes out right now. But these rocks with with those waves, they look quite nice. I'm firing off fairly high speed shots of 400ths of a second, so I'm catching perfectly the back blow of the wind, and I'm going to aim for a 3x1 because I quite like the concept of 3x1s at the moment, and I'm just trying to wait for those perfect waves to come in, so I've got them pretty much going right the way across the scene with these beautiful rocks in the background. Simples. Polarizer is taking away the glare from the water in the foreground, so I'm having to reshoot some of the 600 or so I've probably taken already. Rather nice though.
Now to seek out a good foreground.
Right, I'm trying to get these leading lines going in through the picture. I'm taking my polarizer off a bit, so I'm getting the shininess of the water in the comparison with the stuff in the background.
And then I had the luckiest sequence of shots I possibly could have had. This wonderful surfer just strolled through my scene and made it complete. Filled with adrenaline, I grabbed my camera and went handheld, taking mediocre shots of reflections and dabbling in the odd intentional camera movement.
That was quite exhilarating actually. So we're going to go and check into our rather blowy campsite and return in a few hours for what might be a soft sunset. I have returned solo to Holywell Bay, and I'm going to go up into the dune area just to see if I can get anything nice for sunset. Earlier on, great waves, good fun, but for now, some colour in the sky. Just not sure whether it's going to be as said. There should be an opening with not much cloud. Who knows?
So what followed was a good scramble up into the dunes and a good explore so I could try and work out where on earth I needed to be.
I just need to find a suitable foreground with these lovely grasses, and hopefully can capture a little bit of the colour in the sky. Something that's quite important, I need to make sure, if I scooch around here, that foreground rock doesn't interfere with the two in the background. So I think I'm at least safe from this part further across. Right, the hunt for foreground begins now.
I think it's clear I need to work on my foregrounds, particularly when they involve marron grass. The light dropped so fast I really couldn't find anything that caught my attention and excited me. Never mind, next time.
Well, I've got the entire place to myself right now, which always makes a location very, very special. At times on this trip, the wind has been brutal. And what that means is that sometimes I've had to get a little bit creative with trying to just focus on something that's going to work, i.e. waves. But right now, me and those rocks and the tiny bit of light that I might be able to call a sunset, well, we're just going to enjoy each other's company. Things to reflect upon. The importance in a wind like this of having a sturdy tripod, unlike the flimsy second option that I took on a walk the other day. I suspect most of those shots are not going to be okay. Also making sure you've got your tripod firmly anchored into the ground if you've got spikes, but also on a flat, because I do have a propensity to tilt my camera forwards on a tripod without actually realising it. Not knowing a location is a distinct disadvantage, except every now and then that fresh pair of eyes can mean that you just see something that's a little bit different, or you can just explore places with a little bit of innocence. I need to work out how to photograph marron grasses effectively, because at the moment they just look like a mess. Photographing the sea with a long shutter speed when the wind is out to sea is a superb option. And even now I'm just watching it, there's no backlighting, but it just is catching and going away into the distance, and that's pretty damned exciting. So thank you, Cornwall, for a very lovely, if rather blustery, few days away, and the discovery of a few new locations that one day I may get my backside back to and capture in more favourable circumstances.
I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anybody that these are the two shots that set my heart on fire from this location. In fact, this video too.
So it just remains for me to say thank you ever so much for joining me today, wherever I am next time. I very much look forward to taking you with me. In the meantime, have a cracking couple of weeks and I'll see you then. Cheerio.